I'd like to tell you my grandmother's story. My grandmother had raised 6 children with my grandfather. When she was in her 40s, my grandfather died. I was 2 years old then. By the time passing with her and all of her children grown up and got married, she really felt alone. So she decided to do something. She decided to learn. My grandmother was illiterate. Yes, illiterate. She hadn't learned to read or write. Therefore, she attended a school where she started to learn the alphabets in Arabic. She continues going daily with her friend until she learned how to read and write. Then she attended a school for teaching Quran, the Islamic holy book. She learned recitation rules and she began to memorize some of the chapters as well. She continues going to that school for many years, and finally she graduated in reciting the whole Quran. She got certificates and awards. Every day at home she opens the Quran, reading and reciting. She also reads other several books. And by the way, this is not my grandmother, this is another respectful lady. She recently had a smartphone, but she is in fact far away from those amazing photos. She needs actually help in using it. But we are all, her children and grandchildren, are very proud of her because she never stopped learning. That was my grandmother's story. I told you her story because she was a perfect example for my Pecha Kucha topic, lifelong learning. This is Bayan Kutub. I'm presenting a Pecha Kucha presentation for Provincial Instructor Diploma program at VCC with Brian Cassell for the course 3240 Media Enhanced Learning. The concept of lifelong learning has been recently introduced and researched. Lifelong learning is defined as a cradle-to-grave activity. Lifelong learning includes public schooling, adult education, and continuing education, but it's not restricted to those. It exceeds them to include every other activity that produces learning. Massive technological changes over the past century and the past years led to the demand on updating our learning continuously. Accelerating technology leads to many career changes over lifespan, and nowadays we witness more career transitions than our parents and grandparents. Studies show that job insecurity leads to health problems. That's why integrating lifelong learning is a must. While lifelong learning seems to be formal learning as these photos indicating, it is actually not. Learning takes different forms. It can be either intentional, where you deliberately set out to learn something, or incidental, where you learn without having planned it. Learning takes three forms. The first is formal learning. Formal learning is intentional and it's always planned and assessed within an education system where outcomes are recognized. Examples include learning institutions and technical training where you get a degree or diploma. Non-formal learning is the second form of learning. It is intentional and voluntary. It takes place in a variety of environments outside the formal education systems, such as workshops, community organizations, libraries, museums, and conferences. The third form of learning is informal learning. Informal learning can be incidental or intentional. When incidental, the learner acquires attitudes, values, skills, and knowledge from everyday experiences. When intentional, the learner sets a goal and chooses to learn based on interests and needs. I am sure that most of us are already doing any of these activities on our daily lives. I like this quote by Alvin Toffler where he defined the illiterate. The illiterate of the 21st century will not be those who cannot read or write, but those who cannot learn and relearn. These days, being a lifelong learner is so essential to cope with the 21st century revolutions. We are in the era of the world is being a village. We are in the process of world shrinkage, of distances getting shorter, things moving closer. There is an increasing ease with which somebody on one side of the world can easily interact with somebody on the other side of the world. We live in a globalized world, and globalization demands continuous change and improvement among all aspects, individuals, organizations, and the whole community or society. However, some people do tend to resist change, what is known as change resistance, where some people who used to work or understand things in a certain way resist changing, updating, or broadening their horizons because they think what they have learned 10 or 20 years ago is still applicable. Reasons for change resistance are many. Some may fear from the unknown. Others may fear from losing control over their work. This kind of confliction occurs sometimes on the individual level, on the organizational level, or sometimes on the whole community level. History and culture play a big role in shaping each community's acceptance to change and being a lifelong learning community. In developing countries where culture has a big influence, people tend to resist change more than other developed countries. On the other hand, we see the developed countries have freed their communities from cultural boundaries and have gone through every positive possible change to reach the ultimate goal of being lifelong learning communities. In some countries, religion and culture are the two dominant factors influencing every aspect of life, including education. People offer every new idea on religion and on cultural traditions. If this idea meets their standards, they will agree and move forward. If not, they will resist it. To make things clear for you, I'll tell you about an example in a Middle Eastern country where some has proposed for a sex awareness course to be included among children curriculum. Many has opposed this idea because this topic is considered a taboo topic according to cultural traditions. Even though in this Middle Eastern country, the topic of sex, took its right and was explained and regulated by the country's religion, which is Islam. So as you can see, these cultural boundaries have prevented this country to be a lifelong learning country and society. Saying that, I have to mention that tradition and culture are always getting mixed with religion. I believe in religion. I believe in Islam, in my religion, as a lifestyle regulator. But ancestors' traditions that are based only on beliefs are not. That's what I have to say about lifelong learning. I hope that not only we become lifelong learners as individuals, but we become lifelong learners as organizations and as communities. Thank you.